Welcome back to the Mina Show featuring Lenny, only NFL podcast. One of the hosts is older than Phillip Rivers and a dog. There's a lot of podcasts hosted by people who are older than Phillip Rivers. Lenny is, I think, in dog years, 80s? In his 80s?
Oh, wow. Lenny's getting up there.
He's a senior pup. I am younger than Phillip Rivers. I would like to put that on the record.
I'm close, but yeah, still younger.
Close. Have you heard 44 years old more than this week? Because I have heard it so many times in the last 24 hours.
No, but Theo Ash did a funny thing where he started just listing other NFL players that are 44 years old to like give some perspective. Like Troy Polamalu is 44 years old. Albert Hainsworth.
Wow.
Like, imagine if some of these dudes came back. Because like it's only 4 years since we saw Rivers, but he's a quarterback, so you have to like adjust to scale. Polamalu is the same age. That's bananas.
All right, we're going to talk about that game, not at length. We're going to talk about every game this week. As always, Ben Solak and I are going to pick all of the games. Some we will discuss in more detail than others. Thursday Night Football is not one of those games. I'm going to handle this one. It's the Falcons Bucks, a game that back in like week 4 probably would have had a lot of intrigue, but the Falcons are kind of limping towards the finish line, as are the Bucks. Woof.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the key for this one, and I'm going to focus on Tampa. And I am going to say that the key for Tampa is running the football. I think their gap runs will be effective against an Atlanta defense that's much better versus the pass than the run. They're 29th in success rate generally versus the run. But when you FTN breaks down, and I tend to, I like their run play classifications, but they will break down run defense and rushing offense by types of runs. And the Falcons offense, I thought this might be true, and it was more true than I expected. 32nd in yards per carry versus power runs, 25th versus duo. Tampa runs a ton of power, a ton of duo. And Atlanta's much better, by the way, against outside zone. So the other thing I'd say about Tampa is since Luke Gadecki came back in week 10, they have been pretty good and much more consistent running the football, top 10 in most metrics. Did lose Ben Bredesen, their guard, but I do think, as they try to stabilize this ship, the run game versus Atlanta is a good way to just keep things calm for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, and that's what Bucky does best. I think Bucky's best on the pulling plays. Also what Sean Tucker does best. And Rachaad White should continue to have a role on this team because of his pass catching and pass blocking. But like when you think about the big plays in the running game, those are more going to come from Bucky and from Tucker as they kind of continue to investigate this whole three-headed approach. Falcons also very heavy single high. Baker has been better against single high than two high this year. A lot of that is the ability to hit some of the vertical plays, though, that were really prevalent in the first 4 weeks of the season that have been very absent recently. Baker, the struggles are very clear. The health is very clear. It's also probably the case that the truth is somewhere in the middle. Like I watched back a bunch of Baker this week, and there's a lot of just missed stuff up against the sideline, 15, 20 yards down the field, like the Tez Johnson reps, and figuring out how to work with him. Like you have to have a lot of chemistry with a smaller receiver like that. Like they've been closer on having more league average downfield numbers than I realized. So I think you're gonna have the opportunity to get those shots there vertically. Mike Evans, the thought is that he's going to start practicing this week. I don't know what the collarbone shoulder status is. As we're recording this on Wednesday, they haven't yet even put out an injury report. And so if you get Mike back, obviously, that's a huge deal for particularly how the Falcons play defense.
The Bucks are going to be missing Servassier Dennis, which is a point in the Bucks' favor. Sorry, that was mean, but
as someone who was like, hey, this could be a really key player for the Bucks this season, I had to sell my Servassier Dennis stock after week 1. It was a very fast sell, unfortunately.
Game plan for Atlanta remains the same as it is with almost every team against the Bucks. Attack the second level of the defense for sure. But
no Drake London.
Yeah, I'm on no Drake London. Yeah, I'm on Tampa here. And we'll be talking about Tampa more because actually you and I, so Ben and I we're doing week 18 together and right? Week 18?
Week 17. We do the odd weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, I was looking at the end of the schedule and I was looking at Bucks Panthers down the road. Ooh, that's going to be a big one. All right.
You look at Bucks Panthers. I look at Falcons Rams for that first round pick. That's the game I'm most interested in. I think
I'm going to be there for that game.
Electric atmosphere. Biggest game of the season.
Brutal. Okay. So I assume we're both on Tampa in this one.
Yes, I will say that Falcons, like, if there was ever a week to get Bijan really activated in the passing game, he was so good as a receiver in the week 1 game against the Bucks, and that's been a missing part since Kirk got in there. Like, there's enough Bijan hero worlds where this is a
Yeah.
Falcons win. If you just make him a 30-touch player in this game, that'd be my approach. But I think Tampa wins.
Falcons defense has some chaos potential still. It
Yeah.
is very funny that, like, they did the thing that they had to do. Maybe not to, like, an amazing extent, but they did finally improve the pass rush, and then literally everything else fell apart. Like,
Yep. And it's one of those things where it's
not
like,
like
yes,
that.
James Pierce Jr. is playing well. No, it still was not worth the trade. It's the Derek Queen thing right now in the NBA. It's like, hey, I'm glad he's playing great. He's hooping. You shouldn't have done this though.
Yeah, it's gonna be a conversation in that Week 18 game for sure.
Mhm.
Okay. I gave you a lot of people are gonna be watching this game, Browns Bears.
I'm actually legitimately very excited for this game. Right now, quick weather check as we get later in the year. Meteorologist Ben comes out in the pod. Single digit temps in Chicago with high winds. We're expecting real feels in the negatives, baby. All right. This is some football weather. I'm very excited. Now, it's also the league's best run defense in the Browns against the league's best run offense in the Bears by success rate, right? We are talking like, this is as strength for strength as it gets. The Browns' run defense is a math thing, right? They're the only defense in the league that's in loaded boxes that's more defenders than blockers on over 50% of the run plays they face. Jim Schwartz will always be gapped out. He'll be gapped out until the day that he dies. Bears, best rushing offense in the league overall, also the best against loaded boxes by success rate. And that's because Ben Johnson does such good work, pre-snap motion, booting Caleb out, play action game. He finds ways to control that eighth, that ninth unblocked defender to make the math then work on the play side. So this is going to be a spot where the key for this game for the Bears is to be able to make the misdirection, make the play action, make the pre-snap motion work. Very, very heavy misdirection game. I'm expecting a lot of the goofy reverses and the screens and the quick throws on the jet touches, especially with the temperature being as low as it is, right? You're going to want this to be kind of a physical, grindy game. It is, however, like the Bears are 7.5 point favorites. This is big, big, big trap game territory because
Yeah, I don't like that
yeah,
at all. I'm gonna pick the Bears, spoiler
yeah,
alert, but I Bears defense,
yeah,
they're bad.
yeah. And
So
for as for as difficult as it is to have conversations about the Browns offense at this time, the Browns offense is very well designed, and they get a lot of juice out of their behind the line of scrimmage throws, their screen game, their like designed pass game where it's kind of like one read stuff. Like Tommy Reese, Kevin Stefanski are doing a really nice job here, finding a myriad of ways to get the ball to Harold Fanion Jr. on the move, to Jerry Judy on the move, to Quinshon Judkins on the move, such that when you go up against a bad tackling defense right now, like the Bears, like, it's a little bit like that Raiders game. 2 or 3 big plays might be the difference here, especially if the Bears offense is kind of stuck in the mud because they're not getting the explosives they're accustomed to getting in the ground game. And so for Chicago, like this is, we all have been big believers in the Bears running game, and even against the Packers in like not a perfect outing, they still, I think, quite impressed. This is the real big, like, all right, Bears running game heat check. Are you guys just good, or we beat everybody good? You got to prove that against Cleveland.
yeah, I'm really interested in that matchup, of course, but I do want to go back to the Browns offense for a second because we didn't talk about Shador Sanders on Tuesday because we did the
Mhm.
NFC weaknesses. It took me a second to get to that game in its entirety, the game against the Titans. So I there was a lot I liked. Still stuff to work on. I think the things I liked the most are things I liked about him in college, to be honest, as well. Accuracy, particularly over the middle of the field. Obviously, the seam ball to Judy is the one that got everybody's attention. I think it seems like his timing is speeding up a little bit. There was a bit less drifting. There were still some moments of drifting. I guess, obviously it's the Titans defense, so everything kind of comes with a bit of a grain of salt. What did you see there versus like his prior starts and,
Mhm.
and what we've seen of him thus far?
I absolutely agree he's faster. I also think he's still too slow, right? It's one of those things where we are on the correct trajectory. We're not home. The hay is not in the barn, right? I brought this up when we were talking about Herbert. Herbert had the highest pressure rate of any quarterback in any game so far this season. Second highest was Shador against the Titans. And that is not because Arden Key was winning like crazy. Arden Key was having a good game. But it was because Shador's willingness to just hold on to the football, see what we would call an NFL open, right? A guy has one step on a slant. A receiver has good leverage on a comeback right before he breaks. and he wants to see it actually open. He wants to see it uncover, see the space before he throws. That's leading him to create his own pressures, right? So we still need to, tempo-wise, get a lot faster in the pocket. This is how he played at Colorado. The exchange is that he is quite good at creating outside of space. He absolutely is. Like, even the big Judy touchdown is like, that's not how that play goes as written,
Yeah.
right? But Sanders is a very comfortable, like, well, let's do it this way real quick and see how it works. And as you generate, a relationship with your receivers, obviously 2 weeks ago, there was a big Jerry Judy frustration on the sideline. And now it's like, hey, we were on the same page on this, and we end up getting an explosive gain and a touchdown. So there's great velocity right now, like great momentum for him. It remains to be seen how high the ceiling is on a guy who is not a high caliber escape athlete who tries to play that way, and a guy who is not a high caliber, deep downfield throwing of the football, high velocity throwing the football, despite the fact that he plays that way. But we don't know what that ceiling is yet, because it kind of depends on, like, just how poised, just how tough, just how creative.
Yeah.
And so far so good. He's building blocks on that in a way you like to see.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not a believer in this Bears defense, particularly the pass rush we talked about on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I think Bill's going to have a lot of opportunities to push the ball downfield here, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this one is a little closer than the line indicates. I'm going to take Chicago. You talked about how elite the Browns' run defense is. They are coming off of a game where they did get run on a lot. I'm going to talk about the Titans a little bit later.
Yeah.
And I think the Bears' play action passing attack, and all you alluded to some of the things that they do off of the run action, is going to could give them trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not an easy one for me.
The play action game and how it gets covered by the Browns is very interesting to me, because the Browns obviously play a ton of man coverage, second only to the Lions. And that gives you a little bit of immunity to play action pass, because you allow your linebackers just to play really fast to flow, and then you expect your corners to do the work for them. Caleb's numbers against man worse than against zone, and especially so when he's not targeting Rome Badunze. Rome is the guy, right? That's who he wants to throw the football to in the one-on-ones. Rome's week to week with a foot. And again, Wednesday, we don't really know just yet, but my guess is going to be he doesn't go. And so now like DJ Moore and Caleb against man coverage this year has been abysmal. And so it becomes who steps, like Colston Loveland, Luther Burden. Someone's got to have a real big game if they end up getting you into a play action pass spot, because they're going to man up and they're going to win corners versus wide receivers, especially if Rome doesn't go. So it's got to be an alternative option.
Yeah, I think the tight ends have to be big in this one. All right, Ravens Bengals is me. The Bengals fighting for their single-digit percentage playoff lives. The Ravens having just dropped to Pittsburgh. So, we've talked about the Ravens offense a lot, and the various struggles that they have, and how bad they've been in the red zone, and how bad they are at other things. I will say, I actually, I don't think I got into it on this pod because we did NFC this week. I thought Lamar looked the best he has since coming back. In this, there was just some bad moments in the drops and execution. They couldn't run the ball, but he, to me, Ben, looked the most comfortable that he has as a mover and throwing the football that he is. So I think that's encouraging for Baltimore. I wrote, just copy the Bills' game plan, man. So we're going to talk about the Bills against the Bengals. 53% play action rate, their highest of the season, 4.6 average depth of target. They attacked the young linebacker group mercilessly. Yep. That is the right way to play the Cincinnati Bengals. When the Ravens played them last time, Lamar had an 11.4 yard average depth of target and a 13% play action rate. Yeah. No, just so I'm not talking about the Bengals offense, because I think they'll have success again against Baltimore, similarly to the last time. I think for the Ravens, I'm just looking at what Buffalo did and asking, why can't you try to replicate this? I know there's reasons, but the offensive line isn't good and all that, but I'm just saying there is a blueprint here for how to play this team. Take it, because they put it out. Do it.
Yeah, I went and I looked. This year there've only been 2 games with a play action rate over 50% and an average of the target below 5. It's a very weird combo, right? Play action pass, we're typically trying to get to the shot.
Yeah.
The Bills are in this weird stage of their offense right now where they go play action pass to get to like the shallow or the screen or whatever. And obviously they had their big tight end moments as well with Dawson Knox in that game. Bengals against tight ends.
Guys don't get open on their own in Buffalo, so they have to manufacture open it.
Yeah.
Oh God.
News breaking there.
Got choked up talking about it.
So I like when you talk about the misdirection aspect of this Ravens offense, which was much more of a character of it in 2022 and 2023, before they got Derrick Henry, before they got a little bit more physical and vertical. You kind of want to get back and dust off that playbook a little bit. It's where Zay is at his best, right? When he gets targets in space, uncontacted. The loss of Justice Hill, who's been out for the last several weeks, I think also has impacted the Ravens in that regard. He's their favorite like screen player, right? Like quick check down player, creates after the catch. Derrick Henry had that big catch and run against the Bengals. So you'd like to see the Keaton Mitchell touches, the Rasheen Ali touches, if they're not going to be Henry, increase. And then like they just have not had a game yet where the tight ends have been the mainstay feature of the passing game in a way that like if you can't do it against the Bengals, against whom
Oh
can
my
you do
god,
it?
I
Yeah.
know. They tried against the Bengals, but I think that was so looking at the tight ends were the most targeted players in that game, but
Mhm.
it just wasn't super successful. Too much downfield again. And that's always going to be with Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. They are more vertical tight ends, right? But just make it easy.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm saying here. Ravens are favored in Cincinnati by 2.5 points. That kind of surprised me. Does that surprise you?
I'm on Cincinnati. A little preview there for
So
the
yes,
Friday gambling column coming out. Yeah.
surprises you. I'm surprised by that, given I at this point, it's not like it's different from the Eagles' offense, but I have the same feeling where I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna just because of the legacy here. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
just assume everything's gonna be good. Yeah, I'm gonna take Cincinnati as well. However, I will say I do think you saw a bit of a turn from Lamar. Do you agree with that last
Yeah,
week?
I remember when he scored the scramble touchdown.
You're
I
like,
said to somebody, it's funny how he's still clearly hobbled and also still clearly the fastest guy on the field, right? Like, or the quickest guy, I should say, because like he comes up from that run like still like a little bit gimpy, but he also like made Peyton Wilson look like 280 pounds in space. So he has that level of talent. There is I think like at this point now there's like a little bit of like a confidence issue with him in terms of like he had an early scramble against the Steelers where he got out there, he was clearly in
no,
space,
and he
he
didn't go for
slid
it.
super
Yeah,
fast,
super
and then he got
fast. I
mad at
know. I'm
himself.
like, what are you
So
doing?
so
Yeah.
now I think there's like he just doesn't he's lost his feel and his rhythm for his running a little bit because I think every so often he just pulls up gimpy, whether it's in the hamstring or the ankle or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think hammies takes a second, you know?
Yeah.
It's a you this is something I never talk about, which is like athletes and injuries on this podcast, but
Mhm.
um there's like a lack of confidence running full speed. I've pulled my so I'm whatever. I pulled my hamstring and I'm a runner.
And
So
you're an elite
whatever.
athlete, right?
I am a
Exactly. Yeah.
runner. I run every day, guys. You're nervous running after you have a hamstring injury because you don't want it to pop again. You don't want it to get hurt again. And that feeling when you get that little twinge is like really nerve wracking. So it's not surprising to me, speaking from my athletic experience,
Marathon Mina when?
that it's not as surprising that he's a little bit hesitant. And if he is running and if they do the plan, they could
Mhm.
win this game, So, yeah. All right. Chargers Chiefs. This is it. I keep saying that Kansas City. This is it. It's
Yep.
this or now or never, baby. Without looking.
Until I see 0.00% on the playoff predictor, it will always be all right. This is it. This might be it. Here we go.
Have you looked at the line for this game? Sorry, also,
Yes.
I don't know. Okay, yeah.
Unfortunately, the answer to that will always be yes every
Yeah,
time we do this
sorry.
pod.
Okay. So it's in Kansas City. I think Kansas City has been favored in every single one of their losses. I
I
don't
don't
know.
think they've been underdogs save for
Last week was the first week where I correctly picked that the Chiefs would lose.
it's a knacky thing to do. It really is.
All right, you are Chargers here. I'm Chiefs. Chiefs are at home. So you go first. What's your key for the Chargers?
Yeah, it kind of sucks because we talked about it so much literally 2 days ago. The key is how you mitigate the offensive line issues. A couple more interesting notes and numbers that have come out since we did that podcast. Against the Eagles last week, ESPN charted the Chargers as having 5 receivers out in the concept, so empty protection, 73% of the time. That's the highest of any game this season for Justin Herbert and Greg Roman. Compare that to week 1 against the Chiefs, in which they had 39% of their passes had 5 out there in the concept. The season long for the Chargers, I was talking about rollouts on Tuesday. Season long, the Chargers have averaged about 6.5% rollouts out of all their dropbacks. The last 3 weeks, Mina, they have no rollouts in the last 3 games they've played. And this is like with rolling offensive line injuries. for whatever reason, over the last month or so, the Chargers' solution, and the reason is because they're chipping a lot more, right? They had 34% chip rate against Eagles, the second highest of a game this season. So they're saying, let's be in the gun, let's be in empty protection, and let's chip release. And that way, like, the rules will be clear and everybody will have their eyes on protection, whatever, instead of like the rollout game. It is not working, however, and so let's go the other direction. Let's go heavy play action rate. They've been below play action rate for their season average over the last 4 weeks. Let's go more pre-snap motion, which they were the highest pre-snap motion rate they've been in that week 1 game against the Chiefs. Chiefs are great to go early down, pre-snap motion, play action, because they play the run so heavily on those early downs. You can boot Herbert out. You can give him simplified reads. The ball comes out quicker. He doesn't get contacted, which is something you really have to worry about now because hits are accruing on the guy. And you get the ability to protect those tackles and slow down that pass rush a little bit. And so I would like to see, off of that game on Monday, which you did win, but was also very harrowing and scary for your offense, I would like to see a return to the chalkboard on what can we do to protect our Trevor Pennings and our Bobby Harts and our Austin Declases. And I'd like to arrive at moving the pocket a lot more and play action faking a lot more, getting under center a lot more. I know the hand injury has been part of the process, but doing that a lot more to slow down edge rushers as opposed to the chip, because the chip is just not helping right now.
He was under center a little bit in the game. It was interesting. I was monitoring that closely for the run also as well, because I feel like they should, I was like, get under center on the ball. So my key for the Chiefs is the number one thing I think you can do to stop Justin Herbert, make him deeply uncomfortable, is request an interview.
I thought you were gonna land on pressure him, and I was like, I don't know why you're building up to this. We've been talking about it for weeks.
I laughed at my own joke. I'm such a dummy.
No, it's a good joke.
I couldn't even let it sit and let you laugh. No, that's a joke, everybody. Don't freak out.
Listen, if anybody in the world should not have been surprised by Justin Herbert interview issues, it would have been you sitting at home being like, yeah, I'm familiar with this.
Yeah, I know. People were like, you don't know him. I'm like, literally, I do. I've literally been in this experience. Okay, sorry. No, that was a joke. Okay, so I'm on the flip side of that, and I was like, don't bite hard on play action, guys. Because the first time these teams played, you remember, the Chargers destroyed them in play action. Week 1, in the halcyon days of week 1, back when Joe Alt was on this team, the Chargers, Justin Herbert went 9 for 11 for 169 yards, and they gave up massive explosive plays. Yep. Chiefs defense is not good at play action for the reasons that are articulate. If I'm in this one, I almost want to do like what the Steelers did to the Colts back in week whatever, when they surprised the Colts.
8.
Yeah, like a few weeks ago, before things fell apart.
Yeah.
Which was, they were very aggressively playing the pass on some of those first down, and the Colts were like, what's going on here? Right? Like very taken aback by it. And then the other thing, and this is the obvious thing, Chris Jones got to do it again, man. I like.
How about Chris Jones on Sunday?
Woo! If he does what he did on Sunday, I actually think they win this game. Yeah. This game.
If the Chiefs employed a staffer to just every Saturday sneak into Chris Jones' apartment and change the calendar to January and just put snowflakes outside, like, it's a playoff game on Sunday, Chris. He'd be the greatest player alive every single Sunday. His ability to turn the switch on when it's time is really something.
The Chiefs' offense, I think, is going to have a bounce back performance. I think that the Texans' effect is being a little bit ignored. I think every week I say this. It was funny though to revisit the first matchup. Can you guess how many targets Hollywood Brown had in that game? This is back when Rashee Rice was hurt. Right. Xavier Worthy got hurt during the game.
Yeah, was it 7?
16 targets.
That's more than 7.
Hollywood Brown had 16. Let me see how many catches he had. It was in 16 targets, 10 catches for 99.
I remember they kept throwing him hitches. They kept throwing him like 5-yard stop routes on the boundary. I remember this. Yeah.
So they were much more. 6 hitches. They're much more equipped this week, I think. Fortunately, I think the Chargers are still a little bit of a difficult matchup for them because of they're not the type of offense that like really gives the Chargers trouble, but. I'm taking the Chiefs here, actually.
Yeah, I lean Chiefs. I think 4.5 is too big of a number. I think it's gonna be a very close game. The Chiefs, the thing to monitor that we still don't know about is the tackle injury situation, right? There's expected to be no there's going to be no Wanya Morris in this game. Excuse me. There's expected to be no Jawan Taylor in this game as well, still. And so we're looking at a Chargers edge room in Khalil Mack and Odafe Owe and Tuli Tuipulotu, which no one's going to call it a top 8
They're
group.
good though.
This has been a solid group now, right? Since
Yeah.
like always gotten onboarded and when Max come back healthy to the point where like you can get into a Mahomes circus game where he's got to run around a lot. It's not going to look like the Texans, but they can get a decent portion of that. And with how well they pack the zones deep and how well the Chargers play the scramble drill really well, it's just gonna be hard to find explosives. So I lean Chiefs because how you not going to lean Chiefs? Like I think lose 2 divisional games to the Chargers, lose the home game backs against the wall. Like it's very tough
It's an
not to lean Chiefs.
Arrowhead.
But yeah, the Chargers also just like the Chargers are always capable of having a 6-point offensive game because of how bad the offensive line is. So I go Chiefs, but it's close.
It's also just like the Monday Night Football. Herbert was such a warrior. We talked about this on Tuesday. Had like they played in like the worst circumstances ever. It's such an emotional high from that. It just feels. I never do this kind of like soft analysis, but I just feel like they can't do it again. Can they? Like that just seems really difficult.
In the world of soft analysis, if there's a coach who does it, it's Jim Harbaugh is the problem, right? The Jim's really good in these spots.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, send out the find the post game and ask them to do it pre-game and completely flip the dynamic. Really
I'm not giving second one. You're laughing alone on that one. Going back to the well too early.
I'm getting you there because I knew you thought I was going to say pressure. Okay. Hilariously more what's harder on Herbert? A-gap pressure or being asked, how do you feel about the win?
Who do you see in his nightmares that night? Jalen Phillips or Laura Rutledge?
Girl.
I love him so much, dude. He kills me.
Bro, it's not that bad. Okay. Bills, Pats. Oh, let's go. This is my favorite game of the week. There's a couple more good ones. I mean, Packers, Broncos, really good game. Lions, Rams is a really good game. But I love this.
This one's the arrival game. This one's like if Drake May wins this and they secure the AFC East and they keep the Bills a wild card and fight for the 1 seed. This is the like he's here game, and I'm very worried about it.
About MVP, yeah, I am a little bit too. Somebody asked me about MVP, and I said I think it's going to be decided between the game this week and then Thursday Night Football next week. If Matthew Stafford torches the Seahawks, he'll probably win. Yeah. If Drake May wins again, I could see him winning. If both happen, then I don't know.
Let's root for it.
I'm on the Pats side of here, so I'll go first. My note isn't on Drake May, actually. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But my note for the Patriots is, can you play run defense like you did the first half of the season?
So that's my exact same thing going in this game.
Okay, so since week 9, so the Patriots defense the first half of the season was like amazing against the run. Since week 9, they are 31st in success rate, 31st in run stop win rate. Some of that coincides with the absence of Milton Williams, who is on the IR. I think he's going to be back for the playoffs. You didn't have Tonga, who's their nose tackle recently, but this has been now an issue. And it's not just against like dominant rushing teams, which has been alarming to see. Well, here comes the dominant rushing team because the Buffalo Bills are going to show up and they're going to run the piss out of the football. So I really am interested in seeing if the Patriots can find a way to improve at stopping the run, because if not, I think they're going to struggle.
Yeah, 3 of the last 4 games have allowed yards per carry over 5. That they hadn't done that once in all the games previous. At least 3 explosive runs in each of the last 4 games. That had only happened once previous. When you go and you look at the runs, because I ran through all of them. I ran through the explosives. You're trying to figure out what's going on. The 2 games Christian Ellis missed also felt like a big deal. He's kind of their best second level thumper there from the linebacker spot. They were diminishing Anfernee Jennings snaps at edge, and they actually kind of ticked him back up last week against the Giants. He's a really good run defender for them. And I think it's the reason why like those particular players are important for them is because they are a little light in the pants at edge when they have Harold Landry and K'Lavon Chasen out there, right? And again, when you go and you look at some of these explosive runs, it's Marcus Jones as well as the nickel player, as your nickel fitter. Marcus Jones has that delightful season, very well deserving of the extension. Just not exactly, not a nose in the fan sort of a player. And so if you can get the ball on the boundary on him fast, then you have the ability to get tackle breaks. You have the ability to get a lot of displacement vertically, and that's where you can find your bigger plays.
Literally what Buffalo does. It's like what they major in is like getting the ball on the boundary and having their skill players block.
And if you're over-indexed to it and you're moving to it too fast, you're reacting to the polars. James Cook, vision-wise, it's S-tier vision. He's so good at getting to that cutback, bending that thing back. You get, Spencer Brown, Osiris Torrance just bulldozing up to the second level, and then now it's Cook vertical right into the second level, and that's where he can really get you with the breakaway speed. And so the Bills ran the football fine against the Patriots in
Yeah,
the
that was
first
interesting to
game,
go back
right?
and see. I was like, "Oh, they how did they do it?" It was fine.
Yeah,
The offense was fine.
yes. Since that game, though, the Bills have decided to be more of like a, fine isn't good enough for us running team, right? They've really like the explosive play rate has wrapped up for them, right? They had like the Steelers game, which was super high run rate over expectation. So they've been more willing to be a like, we run the football, that's our offensive identity team. So really like your key for the game, my key for the game, the Bills are going to come out and really, kind of pocket check this Patriots run defense. Like, can you get us out of this? Can you stop us from like being the physical, we impose our will team when we hold the ball? And for the Patriots, like the first hurdle to clear is being able to say, no, like we're still able to keep you at like a 50th percentile running game. You're going to have to do something through the air on us. And then it becomes a question of who are you willing to target? Who are we covering with whom? Can you find a matchup to win?
I go tight ends on safeties if
Yeah. And they were big tight ends in the first game as well.
yeah, as well. Yeah, so I think it was an interesting one because, like, going back and looking at the notes, I was like, "Oh, this is the Buffalo did some of the Buffalo things,
100%.
but, they weren't able to finish." And I think also we saw that the defense, just to hit the other side of the ball a little bit. What are you you looked upset just now. What did you see?
No, sorry. I stretched. My back's going. I'm getting old.
Also, defensively, I mean, just looking back at my notes, Drake May just kinda went ham on him. Like, I was trying to think, like, what did they do? Like, he did I'm just looking at I just wrote Drake May, Josh Allen things over and over. Like, he did Josh Allen things. He was making, like,
Mhm.
insane plays outside of structure with guys draped off of his body. He was killing when they sent pressure. He was unbelievable. They were play actioning them like crazy.
Mhm.
And I guess my question for you is that something that they can reproduce? Because it was like, that was like that was his arrival moment, I think, to the world. And there's nothing to believe that that's not who he is at this point, that he can't do all of those things. I guess thinking about the Bills defense, we've talked about this. They're obviously very vulnerable against the run. Um, and there's some weaknesses that I think New England was able to take advantage of. Like, how do you see that playing out on that side of the ball?
Yeah. The best thing I can say about Drake May's game against the Bills was that he had no touchdowns and he had a passer rating of 101.1. Do you even know how hard it is to
Yeah.
have a passer rating over 100 with you don't throw a single touchdown? He also had like no picks and whatever, but still, that's like, I think there's 3 games this season in which passers had no touchdowns and had a passer rating over 100. So unbelievably efficient day. He killed them on third downs. It was a lot of, okay, what are the Bills going to be on third down? Especially their corners were in a bad way in this game. All right, we're going to be a zone team. We're going to pack it intermediate and deep. We're going to make you check it down. We're going to rally and tackle. And Drake's ability to just see it fast, find space, then make pinpoint throws. Like there was not a lot of air on these like Stephon Diggs benders and the big Hunter Henry throw over the middle. But Drake's just his ability to place the ball perfectly solves that defense. The sort of thing where it's like, all right, you can't really play zone against the elite guys. This was one of those performances. The Bills did struggle in that game, I think, to pressure May to the degree to which you would like to pressure May. He had a pressure rate, it was about average for season.
Yeah.
They pressured him 39% of the time. That's about average May's been pressured. But as the season has gone on, one of the things we've seen from teams rushing May is they're starting to get wise to hit how much he likes to step up in the pocket, how much he
Yes.
wants to escape through the B's and through the A gaps. And I would expect a different rush plan in this game where they're going to try to heat him up early to get him to climb. And then they're going to have spies, they're going to have mush rushers, you're going to have those defensive ends stunting down, and then the looper coming off the edge to then greet him when he climbs up into the pocket. May's got so much stuff that's like elite to excellent in terms of his traits. His pocket management right now is like more so in the great tier. It's where you can get him. And obviously in this game, we are missing the left side of the line, Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, relative to what we had in that first game. And so to me, there's not a lot you can do coverage wise because they're not a matchup team. There's not take away Stephon Diggs because they distribute the ball to everybody. And I think it's really hard to play zone against May with him just seeing the matrix the way he is. So I want to solve the problem in the pocket. And I want to see if I can make him relocate off his spot a lot. And then I want to be able to get some sacks when he climbs up.
The, Giants did what you're describing, in terms of, like, trying to get him to step up and having guys ready to meet him upon arrival, and, I mean, ultimately, he still got the better of them, but, and all things considered, given that they were missing Wilson might do you see Wilson's back? Or
Oh, is he potentially back? I missed that
I might be,
completely. I'll
yeah. I
look.
think I saw he was back at practice, so check that one, but no Campbell still.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
He is
I
present. Big, 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 big. I thought he was
yeah,
out for longer.
yeah, so
Nice.
that I just saw, so that is a big deal. Um, I am interested in seeing whether this Bills run defense has improved, since Shaq Thompson got back and they've been healthier. They've been a little bit better than some of the more dismal performances early in the season. Patriots run game is not great though. It's okay, you know? So much of what they do is based around the quarterback being special. And then of course, Stephon Diggs went absolutely nuts in that game for those who run. So
Yeah. It was a slightly important game there to Stephon. Uh, Vrabel, by the way, is a head coach off of the bye week, 6-0, straight up 6-0
Woo!
against the spread, right? This is
Then this is
the,
in New England.
mhm.
God, I was hoping our conversation would clarify for this for me. I think I'm gonna go Bills here.
I really think the Patriots win it. That's what my gut tells me. I think the Bills have dramatically, like, not dramatically. The Bills have been changing their offensive identity, right? And they've really been more oriented on these throws behind the line of scrimmage and getting the ball out a little bit faster. They use like I said, the play action game to kind of get some of the throws into the boundary quickly, and they stretch you a lot more horizontally than they used to stretch you vertically with Josh Allen. With okay, it's Jack Gibbons and it's Christian Ellis. Like, I think you can find some success there. If this is an enormous James Cook game, if this is a big Ty Johnson game, and you're able to get those runs after the catch, then you can keep pace. This whole game is on a neutral script the first time, right? But I don't see enough stops from the Bills defense is the thing I can't get. Like, that 2-minute drive that Drake had to put the
Yeah.
game away was just, it was very, very easy.
Oh,
It's a
I
lot of
know.
room. And if they try to play more man, which I would guess that you try to play more man, well, now I'm just going to pepper Hunter Henry, right? Because I like, I'm going to make Cole Bishop have the Chiefs game again. I don't think he can. So I lean Patriots. I trust that offense the most. Bills got to make sure this thing stays neutral. Cannot fall behind in this game.
Oh, now you're making me change my mind because I do like the Patriots defense better than the Bills defense.
Mhm.
And the Patriots defense good against play action. Talk about how the Bills love doing that now. They have more game changing players, I would say.
Yeah, I mean the corners for sure. No, Milton is like,
Yeah,
if you
it's
take me
tough.
to the universes where the Bills win this, which to me is like 49% of the universes, it's again good
So
James Cook day, but it's
close.
between the tackles because they're able to really move them off the
Okay,
ball.
so Harold Landry is ruled out. And
Yeah,
oh wait, no, that was last week. Sorry, fake news. One
Landry is
second.
back at practice. Spencer Brown also critically for
You
the
know
Bills
what?
back at practice.
Oh, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
Google News lying to me there, or show me stuff more recently, past 24 hours. Because I knew Tonga was back, which is a big deal. Tonga
love
being
Paris
back
Tonga.
is massive. All right, I'm sticking with the Bills, but I think this is hella close. Okay,
Yeah.
Commanders Giants. That's you.
Woo! Obviously no Janie Daniels for this game, no Zach Ertz for this game, which is potentially a big deal. Marcus Mariota, when he's been the passer, Zach Ertz is at a 26% target per route run rate, 23% of the team's target share, which leads the team. So you need to find some new guys to distribute the ball to. Thankfully, Noah Brown is back. They have a young tight end, Ben Sinnott. So interested to see how they fill the void there. But this is really about the running game for the Commanders. That Vikings game got so far away from Washington so quickly. They were running the football well, but they just got into deficits, right? You gave up the 2 opening drive touchdowns to the Vikings. Your drive there in the middle ended with a fourth and goal turnover on down. So all of a sudden it's 14-0. You go into the halftime locker room. Okay, let's settle down. Let's calm down. You throw 2 picks on your first 2 drives in the second half, and it's 24-0. And you don't have the ability to control pace anymore. You have to drop back against Brian Flores. That's a nightmare, right? But running wise, they had 47% success rate on the ground, 4.7 yards per carry. Even with that, with Chris Rodriguez is the starting back at this point. But Cliff still just like kills teams on the chalkboard of the running game. That remains the strength. Giants run defense, obviously, as we know, pretty bad on a historic pace right now in terms of yards over expectation per carry given up at 1. They're giving up 1 more yard per carry than they should be, and over a lot of carries, 20, 30, that starts to accumulate. 25% missed tackle rate as well, which is remarkably above league average. And so to me, the key for this game is neutralizing the Giants pass rush and being able to keep this on neutral for Marcus Mariota, for Chris Rodriguez, keep this thing close. If this widens, the Commanders at this point, just pass protection wise and receiving weapons wise, not the sort of team that can throw their way back into games. You saw against Denver, when you can get your stops, when you control the run, Washington can hang with anybody, right? Because they have enough talent. This roster has that talent in spots. But if you're, having a bad day on defense, which is always possible for Dan Quinn, and you fall behind, then you lose the running game and you lose the nature of the offense.
I'm looking at this game entirely through a selfish lens. I am locked in a playoff matchup with Nate Tice. He
You
has
need
2
Dart, right?
starting quarterbacks. We've got 2 quarterback league, and I have 1. Oh, wait, that's not true. I have 2 at this point. Okay, anyways. Point is, one of my 2 quarterbacks is Jackson Dart. I need him to go ham here. The Washington Commanders defense is the worst in the NFL. I feel it. I feel that.
Huge news for the Bengals.
Who do you think's worse?
Commanders.
Commanders.
That
Right?
yes.
They are so bad.
The Dan Quinn I grab play calling before playing 2 bad offenses. It
Oh.
was a good bit. It was a well done shtick. He executed it perfectly. However, we now have the data, and it turns out the defense is the same.
I don't think he's on the hot seat,
You
but
don't?
nah. The Daniels injury is gonna.
Oh, he just kind of wiped. Yeah.
But
I don't know.
they gotta figure some stuff out. He cannot call the defense again.
When's the last time Dan Quinn had like a legitimately good defense? I like he had it was 22
in Dallas. Yeah.
in Dallas. Yeah, it
They
was
had a
very
couple
good.
good years,
But
yeah.
still, okay. Last
And
time Dan Quinn had a good defense without Michael Parsons.
Yeah, but he had Michael Parsons. Yeah. I'm taking the Giants here for the reason I just described. I hear you though about running the football. You're right. You're not wrong. I'm just saying. Yeah. Giants.
I think Giants win the game as well. Only way the Commanders win it is if it's a 30 carry, 180-yard day.
Raiders Eagles is moi. I don't. They've seen in the Hereditary the "Why can't you be normal?" That's my key for the Eagles. Just be normal.
I've seen the GIF. Haven't seen the movie show.
I've never seen it either. It's too scary.
Cool.
The Raiders aren't good at anything. Well, that's not. Well, yeah, offensively, yeah. So look, I should have made the key Eagles. You just gotta score 17 points. Give me 17. That's enough here. To be a little bit more granular here, I would love to see the Eagles go heavy jumbo in this game. The Raiders will almost certainly match that by putting linebackers on the field. And then I would love to see them play action off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The game plan they had against the Chargers,
yeah,
like in terms of passing designs, would work very nicely against this Raiders team. Yeah.
Some of the stuff we talked about on Tuesday, throwing to Saquon, the Raiders can't defend passes to running backs. Some of the stuff they did with Dallas Goedert, I think, will be effective here. The Raiders can't defend tight ends. The Raiders are really bad. But let's just see some easy buttons in the passing game. Just get them in their base defense, easy completions. This doesn't need to be. You don't need low percentage throws here. Just make it easy.
Yeah. The only thing that really worries me looking at this from the Eagles' perspective is making sure you have a Max Crosby game plan. Crosby pretty much always lines up over the right tackle. That's obviously not Lane Johnson. That is Fred Johnson at this time. It's very irregular for an Eagles coaching staff to like sit down on a Tuesday and be like, shoot, we need to help our right tackle in this game. How do we do it? Right. That's just not a thing they've needed to do for like over a decade. And so you have to make sure that you actually do that work.
Every team that plays the Raiders does this. This is not hard. Like every team knows they have one player to worry about. When you watch it's very clear. Teams go into this only game planning.
I really would have liked to have seen Chip Kelly revenge game. I would have enjoyed that narrative as it is, and it's instead the Greg Olsen show. The Raiders just live with a lot of isolation. The wide receivers play on a lot of vertical routes and vertical planes, and it's a Trey Tucker, Jack Besh, and Tyler Lockett group against a Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and me group. Like, does not matter who the third guy is. And so you're going to see, I think, a very, very heavy Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty game in terms of the pass distribution. Linebackers make your tackles, right? Safeties make your tackles. Reed Blankenship, who in the first game without Andrew Makuba, I thought had a really rough performance against the Bears. Really strong game against the Chargers. It was nice to see Reed really step back up there. He's going to be an important player for them against Brock.
Jackson made some, like, they were all just locking the Chargers down.
Yeah. Very sticky day.
No, not much needs to be said about that side of the ball. I think they're going to be dominant. I mean, the pass rush, I think, is going to go crazy against this. What a feast going from the Chargers offensive line to the Raiders offensive line.
It's a nice little 1-2 punch there, isn't it?
Okay, you got Jets, I assume we're both on Philly. You got Jets, Jags before we take a break. Are you going to use this to talk about our Prince, the Lord, the returning King, Trevor Lawrence, coming off of unbelievable performance and what we're seeing from that offense? Or are you going to go another direction here?
I thought you were going to say our Prince Brady Cook lining up for his second career start first career start because as of Wednesday, Tyrod Taylor, groin, and Justin Fields' knee both not practicing. So it could be potential quarterback 3 there for the New York Jets against Anthony Campanile and the Jags defense that, like you brought up, has actually been playing very well over the last month
Doing
and a half of the
stuff.
season. Yeah, the return of Trayvon Walker has been very big for them. He really is a critical player for them at the point of attack in the
Yep.
running game. He makes their math work in the too high stuff. They have Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker, and like almost nobody else right now. Like Eric Armstead, hopefully coming back from injury. But pressure wise, like it's just those two guys. But they do enough from simulated and wacky alignments pre snap that they get those 1-on-1s, and you expect those guys to be quality. The Jets' offensive line is really quite solid, and they've been a very healthy unit for the course of the year. So the thing here is like, number one, don't too high your way into getting run on, right? When the Jets have good offensive performances, it's usually because they're playing light boxes and teams let them just lean on them for 5 yards of carry. You're going to be willing to load up the box a little bit, get the physical player in there. And then the only other note I have for the Jaguars is special teams. The Jets have 4 return touchdowns on the year. It's the most a team has had through 14 weeks of the season since the 2012 Bears, excuse me. And they haven't had that many return opportunities because they don't force that many punts. But Isaiah Williams, Kenny Nguanu when he had the kickoff return, and they had the Will McDonald blocked field goal return. Chris Banjo's unit has been doing great. Chris Banjo, man, like he was
Chris
playing
Banjo
3 years
is
ago.
your specialty. I did not know
Chris
that.
Banjo, in 2022, was
What
an
a
Arizona
call
Cardinals
out.
safety. Last 2 years, he was a assistant special teams coach with Peyton in Denver, for whom he played when he was with the Saints, and now he's a special teams coach in the Jets under Aaron Glenn, right? Who obviously he knew from his time in New Orleans. And their unit is ripping. At least the return unit, the coverage unit has like kind of fine numbers. But still, when you go and you look at the Jets' good offensive days, very often it is accompanied by 7 points from the third unit of the team. So Jaguars coverage unit, do your job.
I love finding out that random NFL players.
I'm getting to that point where it's like, it's not just guys I remember, it's guys I like remember, right? Chris Banjo, I can remember Banjo's like free agency.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to look up what year. That's crazy. I was on the Dallas sideline for, I can't remember which Monday night game, and I was talking to a couple coaches, and one of them walks over and started talking, and I'm like, wait, you're Taekwon Underwood. You're just a coach now? He's like, I'm the assistant receivers coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm like, awesome.
That's like, my issue going to Detroit every year for like training camps and stuff, because I'm right here. Every year with Dan Campbell, I'm like, is that Dre Bly? Is that Antoine Renault? Is that Mark Brunell? Because they have so many ex-players.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about the Jags offense, but got a little something cooking. Lawrence has been great. Jacoby has been like just peak Jacoby. He's been the most
important player in the league.
He is the Jacobiest he has ever been. Jacoby Myers, talking about the receiver. Like he is. Oh, you want a reliable guy who only catches balls for first downs and allows Brian Thomas Jr. to just run 30 yards downfield and do it. He has been a skeleton key in that offense. Line's playing well. So
Brian Thomas Jr.'s closest target to line of scrimmage last week was 16 yards.
All right.
Jacoby Myers had multiple jet handoffs. All right. They said, Liam Cohen said, listen, only people who behave get the football.
My guy, Brenton Strange.
Yep. They are
both the pass and the run game.
Yep. Since the bye week, they've been by, I want to say week 9. Fair. Since the bye week, Trevor Lawrence is throwing 10 plus yards down the field on 45% of his dropbacks. It's second only to Jameis Winston, which no one will ever clear Jameis ever in these numbers. But they have become we will run the football, we'll do the jet stuff and whatever, but our quarterback is not going to be the screen guy. He's not going to be the quick distribution guy. We got Jacoby Myers, Brian Thomas Jr. is back. We're going to push you down the field a little bit. Yeah. And they are reaping a lot of benefits from that.
I know. We did AFC weaknesses, and I was like, pass catchers, terrible take, because they've now set, although Broncos week 16, let's revisit this. That's when we're going to learn a little bit more.
Talking about that game out of the break, or talking about Denver against Green Bay out of the break. Anthony Campanile comes from that Green Bay Packers coaching staff. So this 2-week stretch for Bo Nix is a big one.
I assume we're both taking Jacksonville here.
Yes, but as I said on Tuesday, I cannot imagine a more Jagsian loss than at home to the Jets as 12.5-point favorites.
Let's take a quick break, come back, and we're talking about that game that you teased, Packers Broncos. Oof. All right, we're back. Actually, before we do Packers Broncos, I'm going to do Cardinals Texans.
Just a little aperitif, just to get us warm up, ready to go.
Nothing to say about the Texans defense. They kick ass. The Texans offense. Let's talk about the Texans offense. That's what I want to focus on here because I think the Cardinals defense is the pass defense in particular is sneaky competent and can present some issues. Actually, which game did I talk about? I think it was the Cowboys where I talked about how they slowed down the Cowboys because of the way, like structurally, a lot of quarters, light boxes, high flying passing attack. So I'm interested in seeing. You bought in on the Texans offense being better a few weeks ago. I have been very hesitant, but like slowly inching towards accepting that they can be normal. I still do not think this is a good run game or a good offensive line. And I still think, like, when you look back at their win this week, against Kansas City, a lot of it was like CJ just being special and it's doing insane things outside of structure, which has been the case for his entire career.
CJ, since the injury, has looked very 2023 CJ. We're looking like we might be back.
But I want to mention something that I brought up on NFL Live when we talked about them on Tuesday, which is the offense feels like they have an identity now that is going to give a lot of defenses around the league trouble, which is they're just going to own the middle of the field. They have a quarterback who throws the ball very well there, and they've got two monsters at wide receiver. Collins, 6'4", Higgins, 6'4". We laughed when they drafted Higgins because we were like, you just drafted like Nico Jr. basically. So this is the stat I mentioned on the show. In CJ's last 4 games, he leads all sorting QBs in the percentage of his throws on in-breakers. Those digs, slants. 42% of his throws are in-breakers.
Jeez. That's
on
a
those,
huge number.
He has 0.94 EPA per dropback.
That's a huge number. Jeez.
12 yards per attempt, and he leads in success rate too. Yeah. That's their game, man. Like, and against, like the Chiefs don't have the biggest, like, I love McDuffie, but like there's a lot of defenses around the NFL that are gonna this is all predicated on CJ having time. They can put him on the move, whatever. The rejiggered offensive line has looked more competent. They know how to pick up a blitz now. Yay. But I do think that dynamic, and I'm interested in seeing it and how Arizona chooses to defend it, is something that at least gives them kind of like something to hang their hat on as they gear up for a playoff run.
Yeah, and you're very right to say that this game against the Cardinals is like an interesting one to heat check that a little bit, because the Cardinals, that defensive structure where they have those 3 safeties at the snap, right? 3 players all lined up between the numbers, 12 yards of depth. Somebody's going to be coming down, right? Somebody's going to be adding to the first level of the defense. You don't really know who and how, and the rotation is going to work. That makes it challenging to throw over the middle of the field. One of the reasons why the Cardinals produce turnovers, produce interceptions, is because they drop those players into places you don't expect, and they rotate behind it in ways you don't expect. And so this is a game where you can't kind of black out and just throw the slant. It's going to be man coverage, it's going to be one-on-one. No, they're going to be getting somebody into that window. The exchange for that is that when you're bringing the safety down to the box, the safety is the 7th fitter in the run fit. That player's coming from depth, and he's a small player, right? And so it's like, I very much expect the Texans to be run heavy in this game. I think it's a great game to go jumbo, right? They did a lot of Blake Fisher against the Bills, kind of moved away from it the last couple of weeks. I would expect that to come back. No Nick Chubb potentially, hurt his ribs, left the game. Woody Marks is probably capable of being and should be kind of still the lion's share carry guy. Yeah.
When he came in, yeah.
Yeah, and so maybe you don't want to be that run heavy. You don't want Woody to take that level of damage, but I feel like you have to be willing against this Cardinals team to run the football on them and make those defensive backs tackle. The size thing, man, with Nico and Jaden, right? Like, I can't wait till Tank Dell comes back, and it's gonna look like the Master Splinter meme with the Ninja Turtles, right? Like, if Nico, Tank Dell, and Jaden Higgins are your starters. But the belief there in being, we have a quarterback who is accurate and aggressive. Let's get catch point players, guys who are open even when they're uncovered, is, I think, a very good understanding from Nick Caserio in terms of how this is going to work best for your quarterback, who throws those in-breakers, like you said, so well. Best trait you can have as an in-breaking receiver, size. Be able to take hits, be able to take contact, and make catches away from your frame.
Yeah, the way Collins and Higgins use their frame on slants is really hard. It's why A.J. Brown is so hypothetically good on them.
Yeah, I've heard about this. I haven't seen it recently, but that isn't the word on the street.
Okay, we're both on the Texans, I presume?
Yep.
Okay. Packers, Broncos, let's do it. Ooh. In Denver. Interesting line. You've got the Packers here. Mm-hmm. Why'd you go first?
We're playing the hits on defense, baby. All right, this is the Packers defensively are the sort of team that Bo Nix really struggles with. 80% zone coverage from the Packers, which is the 4th highest in football. They're 5th best by yards per play, 6th best in success rate. This is a very, very good zone team. Knicks' splits this year, man zone, are pretty austere. 0.24 EPA per drop back down to 0.03 man to zone. Success rate goes from 51% to 41%. And this one, which I thought really interesting and surprising, completion percentage over expectation. He is -6% against zone. He is +4% against man. Knicks, who we talk about as like quick distributor, find the right answer. Drew Brees, Sean Payton sort of an offense. You typically expect those guys to be very, cut them up against zone coverage, right? Very precise, very accurate, and kind of take the right throws. Knicks, relative to the throws he attempts, just struggles against zone coverage. And when you go and you watch the film, you see a player who struggles to place the football in catchable spots because he's really worried about interceptable footballs, right? And so he will overreact to coverage windows. He will put the ball too far into the dirt. He'll put the ball too far in front of wide receivers because he really wants to space them away from where those defenders are. So this is the Packers' defensive strength against the Bo Nix weakness. And also specifically, Bo on film really tends to struggle against the sim pressures, against the blitzes from depth, and the guys dropping off the line, changing the picture post snap. Disguise coverages this year, -0.02 EPA per drop back, 1 touchdown to 3 picks, 5.3 yards per attempt. The Broncos can't run the Packers out of this. All right. They don't have that tool in the toolkit anymore with Dobbins out. Last 3 games have all been positive pass rate over expectation, increasing week over week as there's been no Dobbins, right? With Harvey, they wanted to kind of get him more involved as like a screen and a swing player. That's where he's at his best. Between the tackles, his vision's poor. And so they want to get him the ball behind line of scrimmage as quasi run plays, but it's still actually a pass. It's still out there. And so they're not going to be able to run you out of these looks. So you get to sit in your too high. You have to be very aggressive in your zone coverage and your early down zone blitzes because the Broncos were early down pass. And you need to make Bo be perfect down the field. And that's something that he has dramatically had an issue with this season.
Yeah, I basically had the exact same point
Yeah.
for Denver, which was, can Bo Nix find the air in this defense? It's kind of so the Packers defense is very good at a lot of things, but one thing that's kind of shocking is on intermediate throws, they are dead last league wide and dead last in EPA per play and success rate. They're behind the Titans and Commanders in that regard.
Structurally, it's never supposed to happen. So when it does, somebody messed up.
Yeah. So Knicks over the since week 8 has started to push the ball downfield more, and he's been better at it. First few weeks of the season, it was not a part of his game. Whether or not he can do so, and quickly being a key part of that as well, because that's something also with the Packers. Basically, if the ball comes out in 2.5 seconds, you got a chance. Is to me how this gets decided, because if I would say 10 plus yards, like 10 to 20 in particular, but let's just say 10 plus, he's got to have 5, 6 plus completions, which is not a given. Not a given.
Not at all.
The Raiders game was hilarious. He was, I mean, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the Eagles and the Raiders. I was like, just take the easy stuff. They just gave him easy stuff all day. Like, they didn't even try, which is, again, it's the Raiders. It's the correct way. But this is an interesting one where, like, it is the reason. There's a reason why we're both on this. Where the Packers are potentially weak is just not something that it's. Nix is very good at giving his receivers a chance. That's not the name of the game here. You got to find the space.
Yeah. And we talked about big targets with Nico Collins and Jaden Higgins in Houston. Pat Bryant's been getting a lot more run, and this is the sort of game for which you got a player like Pat Bryant to be able to make adjustment catches over the middle of the field, to be able to make the big boy catches, because that's the way that he plays. Obviously, Sutton has that skill set as well. I will say that, like, Broncos offensive line, great, right? The way that they lose is typically with interior pressure. That's just not how the Packers are going to get you in terms of their 4-down rush. And so
they'll try, though. They'll find ways.
The Packers, right? I think there's going to be a lot of loop, a lot of stunt, a lot of change up the look, because you don't really want to be sending that many players from depth on early downs, because you're going to have good plays. You're also going to have busts. And then there's just no reason to live that way against Denver. So with the fact that the Packers are poor on the interior, I would I don't know. Harvey did have a better game against the Raiders. It is the Raiders. You have other backs. Like, you have Julian McLaughlin, you have Tyler Beatty, who you like to get run. It would be great if you could get a run game going in this, right? To force those safeties to play a little bit more aggressively, to come downhill a little bit faster so that you could get more air downfield. My faith in it is low, but I still think if I was the offensive coordinator in Denver, I would want to try it in the first quarter, because it's such a salve. It's such a relief if you can.
Well, Chicago, which was the best run game in the NFL, they stuck with it. and it
Right.
was
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
paid off in the second half. So, but again, that's the best run game in football,
Yeah,
I
but
think.
so much of Caleb's throws in that game were throw on move, and that's an important part of kind of breaking the Packers' defensive geometry is being able to relocate the quarterback and flood zones. Nick's throw on moves just never been his best thing, right? He much more so prefers to scramble. This will be a big game for his legs. Scramble rate quadruples against zone coverage relative to man coverage. He's going to get outside of the pocket. He's going to try to break some tackles, and so Nick's, this might be like a classic Mahomes, I'm the leading rusher with 50 yards sort of a day for Nick's when he talks some runs.
All right, let's talk about the strength on strength side here.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to put it to you this way: the Denver Broncos play man coverage 60% of the time. It's the most in football. Jordan Love right now leads all quarterbacks in QBR. I think he's tied with Drake May in EPA per play against man coverage. If you're Vance Joseph, do you just say, hey, we do what we do, our guys can win this? Or do you change up some of your tendencies after watching this Packers offense shred man coverage, particularly over the last 4 weeks or so? Because this is, you gotta look at the recent performances, I think, when you make this choice.
If it's me and I'm a nerd and I'm probably like, oh, I change it up and I do zones because he doesn't do well. Yeah, and I pitch the change up, whatever. I guarantee you, Vance Joseph's watching the Lions film, the Bears film, and saying, well, we're way better than these corners. Right? I mean, like, our guys, like, all three of our guys would start over all three of their guys on this film.
Right.
I'm going to,
Tan is back.
right.
Yeah.
Dontavian Wicks is not going to have the Lions game he had against my guys, right? Now, there is probably some veracity to that, right? And you can get Wario Jordan Love in games where you really can bully his receivers, right? And because he will throw, oh, it's time for the big post, and it's like, no, like Romeo Dobbs is being eaten alive by Patrick Surtain. Don't throw this. He's like, no, I'm still shooting. And so, I will not find it totally indefensible if Vance walks out and is as high man coverage rate as he typically is. I do think that you will see some zone stuff sprinkle in, and it goes to the point that we brought up way back in the day when Tucker Kraft got hurt, which is that they still haven't really proven they have a good yards after catch player since the Kraft injury and that ability to enter that mode of offense where it's dink and dunk and create explosives. Jaden Reed, though, back.
I think he's big in this game. I think he's so important.
And you saw, like, first half, they're immediately like, hey, Jaden targets, right? Like, they've been waiting for this for a long time.
I mean, I think you want to, your answers against blitz, your answers in main coverage can't all be 15 plus yards downfield in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Against this, I've been on the, like, Jordan Love bomb it has been my, like, that have you seen, you're not like online, that meme that's like the Superman say your stupid song or whatever meme that's going around where people
can't even remotely figure out what you're talking
There's
about.
There's like a meme going around on like TikTok and Reels and whatnot where people just say what's the thing that they say all the time, and mine has been Jordan Love throw it downfield. Like I just like every, but this week I'm not saying he shouldn't, but I think a big part of their game plan has to be that underneath yards after catch passing game. They got to find a way to work the backers. So yeah, I'm taking Green Bay here because I think that's a strength on strength matchup that is about neutral, but I like the Packers defense better than the Broncos offense.
Yeah. The one matchup that I'm also, I should say, quite worried about is, like, we have seen games in the past couple of years where Denver's pass rush just decides, no, we win this game. And certainly this season, we have seen games for the Packers offensive line where they've decided, no, we lose this game, right? Like, and they are absolutely healthier than they are, and they've come to a better balance, and the interior rotation's kind of been figured out. No Elton Jenkins, but Sean Ryan is playing very well for them. Like, they are better than they were in the first 2 months. Don't get me wrong, but there are a lot of universes where this game ends 17-6, and it's because Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper just decided, like,
Texans and Broncos game is that.
Yeah.
They could win those two teams, and the Seahawks as well, can beat any team. Those three teams can beat any team.
Yeah, because of the defense for the pass rush. I am going to pick the Packers. Broncos fans got very upset with me last week because on a bold prediction file that required a 50-word blurb, I said, bold prediction, the Raiders might beat the Broncos, and they're very mad at me for that. To be very clear, I think it's quite a close game. I think it's a bad particular matchup for the Broncos, so I lean Packers. Please do not attack me online. Thank you.
Okay, Panthers Saints. We actually, well, let me see what you say. I'm curious.
My key for this game is situational execution for the Panthers. You go back and you watch that game that they lost, right? 17-7. This was one of the games where like the Panthers played well the previous week, so they had to play badly the next week. They had J.C. Horn fell down on a big Chris Olave touchdown off the sideline. Bryce Young fumbles a jet exchange to I think it was Jalen Coker in the red zone, but as a jet handoff, threw a bad pick to Alontae Taylor there in the fourth quarter while it was still a one-score game. The whole theory behind the Brandon Staley defense is if I make you execute enough plays on offense, eventually you mess up. And one of the big praises of Bryce Young is how clutch he is. And the corollary to that praise is that he's not consistent, right? Oftentimes your clutch players are the guys who,
if your best performances are all 3rd and 4th down and
right,
gotta have it, yeah.
If you're clutch, then it means you're on the earlier downs, you weren't necessarily doing so much as well. They were 3 for 9 on 3rd down in this game and 0 for 1 on 4th down. And so the Saints are going to stress you for execution. Panthers got to be able to run the football better in this game. They had a like 33% success rate or something rushing the football. Is god awful. So be able to run the ball a little bit better, stay out of more of those long downs, and then Bryce Young a little bit smoother execution. Coker is much more like integrated back into the lineup now. McMillan's been having better games. Like you are a more improved team than you were, and hopefully that'll be reflected here against this defense. But the Saints do stress out particularly how the Panthers play because the Panthers are not good at that sort of very controlled game plan.
Make you work for it. I mean, it took me a second to get to even as a known Shuck boy, I was not able to watch the Saints Bucks game for a while. And it's funny because obviously Tyler Shuck the runs and he made a couple impressive throws on at the end of the game.
Yes, he did.
But my overwhelming takeaway was like, is anybody notice that the Saints defense is okay now? Because and then I looked it up and they're actually above average in both yards per play. A massive jump from 28th last year to 10th in yards per play, which speaks to what they're just make you check it down. Brandon Staley's not a bad defensive coach.
He knows what he's doing, man. He really does.
You're getting good performances out of some of the younger players too. That also jumped out to me. So this is no Saints game is actually a gimme. I would say that this is not like that defense is far from the likes of the Commanders and Bengals and whatnot. I'm going to take Carolina as well here, even though I hate, how I feel about picking Kansas games.
Yeah, I my belief in the Saints passing game, as much as I like what Shuck did last week against the Bucks, there's still just not a lot of wide receiver talent is the big thing for me. And with it's Chris Olave, Devon Vele, and Mason Tipton, it's Jawan Johnson at tight end. I do think the Panthers, like you said, Mike Jackson's been playing quite well this season. This is the sort of game for which they actually do have the horses, which is not a common thing for them in the defensive backfield. So I lean Carolina, right? Like I said, like it was short fields and J.C. Horn falling down. There were all the Saints points in this game. I think it's going to be very low scoring. Panthers should be the better team.
Niners Titans. Is this the biggest spread? No, Jacksonville.
And also my game coming up.
Have we not got which one?
The Geriatric Bowl.
Oh God.
Yes.
I picked that without
looking at the fact that the Seahawks are two touchdown favorites over the Colts.
Okay, I'll go first here. This won't be long. So Titans beat the Browns. San Francisco, obviously favored by a lot. I reckon they run the ball on San Francisco because Tony Pollard kind of went crazy on Cleveland.
Where this has been for 13 weeks. I was so pissed watching this film. I had so much Tony Pollard stock coming into the season. We just decided to light it up in week 14.
So as you mentioned, the Browns have tremendous run defense normally. The Niners do not. So I'm watching that thinking like, all right, let's see this again. If you want to have a chance, the Niners also don't have a good pass rush. So if they're able to run the football, I actually think Cam Morgan has the potential to have like a pretty decent performance here. Other side of the ball, I think, they'll be, watching Harold Fan and completely torch that Titans secondary. Like the George Kittle's going to go crazy. Picking San Francisco, of course. But I think if I think about a game in which like the Titans pull off the upset, they're shortening the game, they're putting together long drives. If Pollard has a similar performance to what he did last week against a vastly inferior run defense, I could see this one being weird.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of Purdy dropbacks too, because like the 49ers running offense, as we know, is kind of 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Titans run defense has been much better since Devondre Smith and Jeffrey Simmons gotten on the field at the same time. I think it's going to be like, it's going to be one of those days where like at halftime, Purdy's like 18 for 22 for 3 touchdowns, like already, right? They're just going to throw the ball so much. Very high scoring would be my guess. Niners still should win it, but yeah, the Titans have been improving week over week. I still continue to believe in Cam Ward and some of the young pieces here.
All right, Seahawks Colts in Seattle. Do not know who is playing quarterback for the
Yeah,
Indianapolis
we know
Colts.
who's playing quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. I have never seen cards played less close to the vest.
I think they're being deliberately weird about it because are there two more diametrically opposed quarterbacks to prepare for on planet Earth than Philip Rivers and Riley Leonard?
Yes, but the scale of goodness is not big enough for it to matter. Like, neither player is like, oh no, we prepared the wrong way. Now he's going to get us. Like, we're going to be punished for our failures.
Quote from Mike McDonald on possibly facing Philip Rivers this week. If anyone can pull it off, it's him. Guy's probably one of the best competitors in the history of the NFL. I'm sure he wouldn't do it if he didn't feel like he was ready. 3 seconds later, Mike McDonald probably walked away and laughed to himself for 35 minutes, thinking about what his defense is going to do to that man.
If a defensive coordinator ever compliments an opposing quarterback, it's because he's tucking a large napkin into his shirt, okay, and just to go hog wild every time. My key for this game is contact the authorities. This is elder abuse. Like, you gotta call somebody. All right, it might rain, Mina. It's like rain chance of like severe thunderstorms. We might see Philip Rivers like in the slop. Like, he's gonna be a wet 45-year-old against Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams.
He's
can't
44, not 45.
44.
Don't age our man another year.
9 of the Seahawks' 11 starters on defense were not yet in the league when Philip Rivers last played. It's just, it is a.
All right, well, let's not, I mean, it's obviously going to be a million handoffs and a time to throw of 1.02 seconds. So, which is, by the way, Seattle's got to be like the best defense against quick game in the NFL. Without, I mean,
and like I went to missed tackle numbers. Seahawks are top 3 in no tackles missed defensively. Because that's the thing here is it's just get the guys down, right? There's going to be so much Jonathan Taylor design touch. You saw even when Leonard went in the hypothetical, which is Leonard, it's going to be Rivers. But you saw when Leonard went in, there was a lot of quick Michael Pittman throws, right? Say, okay, like let's kind of try to chunk our way down the field with yards after the catch. Seahawks are just so good at closing. The Devon Witherspoon game that he just played against Atlanta. You would think.
Can we talk about it? Because I feel like the Nick Emanwari he's been great.
Yes,
Nick Emanwari, and he had a couple. First of all, the pick is because of an insane play.
Yes,
insane play by Witherspoon, and nobody's talking about it.
When the Falcons goes in motion, both Emanwari and Witherspoon start to move, and then Witherspoon has to hustle back. I'm not sure if Emanwari was even supposed to go with the motion, so Witherspoon might be covering for his mistake, and then generates a PBU that gives an interception to him. He's unbelievable.
His football IQ is crazy to me. Crazy. I feel like the Seahawks defense, nobody talks about the players, and then Emanwari's like the shiny new toy, but it's kind of like, wow, they're such a well-coached unit, and they do a lot of interesting stuff, and they get pressure with 4, but like, he's a star. Definitely he's a star.
And Emanwari gets it because it's so easy to draw the Kyle Hamilton line.
Yes, yeah.
But before there was Emanwari, the guy who made it work last year, like in terms of like the 11th player, the skeleton key, was Witherspoon. And Witherspoon still has all that ability. Witherspoon plays a 2nd and 9 up 19 against Kirk Cousins in week 13 as if it's the last play of the goddamn Rose Bowl. It is unbelievable the level of intensity that he brings, and it very clearly has an effect on everybody else on the team. He is like a coach's dream in terms of how he behaves on the field.
So complete. First of all, after my favorite thing to do on film is to watch every play which Devin Witherspoon is even vaguely involved till the end. Because I guarantee you it's a mortal lock at the end of every play. You will see him standing over the defender on just a hairs away from getting a taunting penalty and doing something like just like clenching his entire body. He's such a complete player at his size. His run defense, he can play man and zone, his coverage abilities. He's an unbelievable blitzer as well. Like, he is amazing. So
first team
I feel like
nickel.
People are sleeping on him this year. He should be an All-Pro.
Yeah, he's first team nickel. He's like he's on my sheet. Like, it was one of the first names I wrote down.
He plays inside, outside. He does it all.
Yeah,
he can be weaponized based on matchups.
He plays Kyle Pitts pound for pound. He's giving him like 55 pounds, and he plays him strength for strength.
That game was like a masterpiece.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, the Colts are starting Philip Rivers. Right. Make your tackles, close behind the line of scrimmage, if the Colts score points on the Seahawks, it's going to be because of hidden yardage. So just come with that level of intensity. They typically do. On the other side of the ball, like Lou Anarumo disguised coverages, Sam
Yeah,
Darnold right
I've
now having a
seen.
bit of a confidence crisis. Like there are some weird shenanigans, turnover heavy days. Colts pass rush isn't good enough though over the
Yeah,
course
yeah.
of 4 quarters to disrupt Sam the want you to.
Yeah,
Seahawks are deservedly 2 touchdown favorites.
I was encouraged by Darnold's bounce back in the second half too, because
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning you're like, "Ooh, we're getting another one," and
Yeah.
he's coming off of 2 bad weeks. But I do think that was encouraging to see him, and then obviously JSN went crazy. No, but JSN against this Tarius Ward has another concussion. This secondary, there's no one who can.
The moment Shaheed housed that second half punt return or to kickoff return, Sam was like, okay, cool, a lead. I know how to
Yeah,
play with this. Like, yeah, it feels very nice. Here we go.
a lead. Okay. We got 1, 2, 3 more games. Okay, Rams Lions is huge. Let's live in this.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is easy. I mean, so okay, so wait, sorry, scrolling down. Yeah. So I am on the Rams here. This is just throw it around the yard. I mean, I it's very hard for me to imagine, could be wrong here, so I gotta always careful. The Lions secondary stopping these Rams pass catchers in its
Mm-hmm.
current state. Branch is out. You get Kirby Joseph back, which is huge. But last few weeks, DJ Reed, Amik Robertson, lots of tough moments. And here comes trouble. Puka Nakua. It's funny because I actually feel it's interesting because the way we were just talking about Devin Witherspoon, I knew Nakua is a more a bigger star or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's a lot of the same feeling I get, which is a perfect football player.
Yeah,
Just like
absolutely. Coach's
you
dream.
know, it's just crazy. Like he's so his physical abilities and play strength make no sense, and then now that you couple that with route running ability, downfield catch radius, all of it, he's just become the total package. So yeah, I mean, let's stay on this side of the ball if you don't mind for a second. Like, is there anything Detroit can do? Because I'm going heavy pass. It'll be interesting to see how much they lean into the 13 personnel stuff, Detroit backers on the field, but they don't need to.
Yeah, Detroit already gives you base all the time. So
Yeah.
this is the game to go 11 and to take advantage of the base, I think. You don't need to manufacture the base snaps. I will say to the man coverage point, Puka and Devontae, neither player is a run away from you player, right? There's a great physicality, Devontae with the releases, but neither one is a top speed dude, right? And so you're going to play them physical. You're going to press them. You're expecting contested catch. Puka's going to win 6 of the most ridiculous catches you've ever seen. But you can limit, talk about hidden yardage, the ability to kind of turn those into big plays. Accordingly, like that creates more and more snaps and it's more opportunities for pressure on Stafford. When they've played McVay the last couple of games, they played him end of the 23 regular season, then the start of the 23 postseason, and then the 24 regular season. They've had good pressure plans for him, right? They blitz the motion a lot. They make Stafford move off his spot quickly. But they're just not as good of a pressure team as they need to be right now. Next Gen Stats had a great stat where I think they're 6th right now in terms of team pressure rate, but they're the 2nd longest time to pressure the Lions are. So if you're not going to blitz, which Calvin Shepard is doing less than Aaron Glenn did, then it's just too much time for Stafford in the pocket. If you're not getting home with the pressure 3 seconds, 3.25 seconds, he's on his 3rd read, he's on his 4th read, he's killing you, right? And so the key is, all right, you're going to press the guys. They're not going to get 70 yards on you. They're just going to get 20. Can you get enough snaps where you get Stafford down, you create 3rd and longs?
So you got to play the variance game here.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced either, but I think you got to just
blitz more
for it, and because it's already such a mismatch on the back end. Mm-hmm. At least your only chance in this one is getting Stafford down. So I would be pretty aggressive. Did you have a key on the other side? Because
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I suspect I know what it is.
So when they played, I'll never forget this game. It was the first Chris Shula game. It was 2024 week 1. The Lions walked out and had a 67% success rate on the ground. Chris Shula said, look at my light boxes. And Ben Johnson said, that's very nice. Watch this, right? And there were very few explosive runs. The first 10-plus yard run was in overtime, but they just leaned on him all the way down the field. And it had the wonderful additional benefit of keeping Matthew Stafford in the offense on the sideline and shortening the game. That was for like the 24 Lions. That was the elite Lions. For these Lions, critical that we minimize the number of drives that you have, right? That Carolina Panthers approach. Panthers were getting killed defensively.
Yep.
We had a red zone takeaway, we had an in the field
Yep.
takeaway, and we only gave you 8 drives. And so you can only put so many points on the board.
They had 11-minute time and possession advantage in the second half.
Right. So
that's got to be the game plan.
Exactly. Like Stafford is MVP. He deserves MVP consideration, and MVP consideration defensively means we want you on the white. We want you sitting on the bench, enjoying the weather. And so got to be able to run the football in this one dominantly. Now, Chris Sewell's run defense dramatically improved, 25-24, right? Big ups Nate Landman at linebacker. Big ups Puna Ford, Puna, friend of the pod, at defensive tackle. Safety, right? Cam Curl, Cam Kinchitz. They have really good fitters from the third level. If you go and you look into the numbers, they're unbelievable against zone. They're really good against duo. The runs that hit a gap, point of attack runs, power, counter, trap, or we choose a Jared Verse and go at him, right? We choose a side, a tight end, and go. Those ones are more league average. And the Lions tend to be more of a zone and duo team, but they can get to their power runs and be very successful. With no Sam Laporta, especially, like, 'cause that's the guy you want in the split zone flow and the play action. I'd really like to see them be not only a downhill team, but be a polar team, be a gap running team, and get Jahmyr Gibbs on a straight line into the second level. That's where you're going to succeed on offense.
You think Gibbs? Because I actually wrote down Montgomery game ?
So it was a huge Montgomery game the first time. I think while stylistically this is more of a Dave Montgomery game than a Jahmyr Gibbs game, I do think the talent difference between the two backs right now is enough that like every game is kind of a Jahmyr Gibbs game. And I still love Dave Montgomery, and he still he has his runs. Like he had that 30-yarder there against the team that they played recently. But anyway, they have 4 rushing touchdowns against the Cowboys. But Jahmyr Gibbs is just like, he's just a cut above to the point where like I want every game to kind of be a Gibbs game on the ground. They've been using him a ton as a receiver though. And I think that also has viability in this game.
That is interesting how they've been doing that, right? Because it's a little bit. I mean, he's
got Christian McCaffrey target share numbers since the like week 10. I want to say it is like they've really dialed it up.
Until this year, I would have said throwing to your backs against the Rams has always been their Achilles heel, but they've been much better against it this season. They've been getting better linebacker play and coverage generally. It's a very complete defense. But yeah, I think a world in which Detroit pulls this off is one that's very similar to the Panthers game.
Yeah. I really went in and I thought that like the rushing success rate defensively for the Rams is going to be like 13th. It's like 5th. No, like
they're really good. The Panthers game was a bit of an aberration, but I had the same feeling you did watching it, which was the defensive linemen are very, very good, but they're a little bit small inside, first of all, outside of Puna. And the Panthers did a really good job of creating gaps for I forget if it was Hubbard or Dowdle who went crazy.
It was a both game. Hubbard had the bigger game, but like Dowdle when he went in was still having like those grindy runs.
It was 7 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards. Detroit, you can do that, right?
And that's what it's going to be. That because their safeties are so good. It's really hard to get the third level in this defense, but you can get through the first level. Yeah.
Well, it's different when you got Jahmyr Gibbs. To your point, I don't like this for Detroit at all if they ever get into third down.
Yeah. It's a great interior rush, both from the players and also the way they stunt and they get guys on the guard. And then we talked about how you attack these Rams corners. You want to do it with size. And just the one thing about Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and this receiver room is that they do not win physical one-on-ones on the outside. This is a game where Forbes and Kobe Durant are better in this game as opposed to other matchups.
Yeah, we talked about that on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking the Rams here.
I think the Rams win the game. Detroit's a very hard team to calibrate to. We've talked about it a lot with how, like, do the corners have the lights out players or do they not? There's, 5.5 is a big line, but I think the Rams win it.
Yeah. It's in LA. Jared Goff.
Revenge game part 4 or whatever.
Beautiful. I know, right? At this point, it's like, whatever. Beautiful weather in LA of note, as always.
Very nice out.
So that's not a factor for Goff. Okay. It's going to be a factor at the end. I'll be quick on Vikings Cowboys. Oh no, we're both doing Vikings Cowboys, so I won't be quick. Why did I choose us? I'm only doing Dolphins Steelers. Okay, Vikings Cowboys. I have the Cowboys here. I think this is a big Javonte Williams game. That's my take here. Minnesota Vikings defense. I think in their pass defense, both in terms of the pressures and then the zone coverages they play on the back end, can do a decent job of limiting Dallas. Will they? I don't know. So every now and then George Pickens decides to be the best receiver in the world. But I'm just saying that on that end, I'm a little bit less worried. The run defense, though, I think, which has been a vulnerability all season long, is something that Dallas can really take advantage of. Running the football between the tackles, Minnesota is 27th in success rate. Dallas, meanwhile, when they run the football between the tackles, is 5th in success rate. I think Clayton Adams is going to be a massive factor in this game. I think Minnesota is going to also encourage Dallas to run the ball. So just structurally, right? So I just think there will be, if it, they could put together a pretty efficient day on the ground that keeps Dak out of making any mistakes against the Brian Flores pass defense.
Yeah, the availability of CeeDee Lamb in this game is a really, really big one, right? CeeDee Lamb goes down with the concussion. He's in the protocol right now. We don't know what it's going to be. We haven't gotten Wednesday practice report yet. However, we have seen many times over the course of Dak Prescott's career how stuck this offense can get, right, with him at the helm when they don't have two dudes, when they just have the one dude. CeeDee Lamb missed those 3 games, week 4, 5, and 6, and there was a dramatic drop-off in the passing game, right? George was not yet the receiver that we know Pickens to be, right? Ryan Flournoy, he's become a nice number 3 for them, was not yet that spot in the roster. And so this was a while ago. But if I'm Brian Flores and I get no CeeDee Lamb, I now have the ability to cloud coverage to George Pickens. And critically, because Pickens doesn't run like a huge variety of routes from a huge variety of alignments, clouding him can be really, really successful, right? We can just get 2 bodies there on the slant. We can get 2 bodies there on the go ball and force the targets in other directions. And just, okay, Kevontae Turpin, Jake Ferguson, and Ryan Flournoy beat us. And that's a much better world to live in, right?
Careful, Ryan Flournoy.
Yeah, out of Southeast Missouri, all right? I was a Flournoy fan coming out. I got my stock on Flournoy, but it's a much better world to live in.
As a CeeDee Lamb fantasy manager, watching him go crazy. All
right, but this is a classic game where like the Vikings, who always are the best blitz team on first down and do it more than anybody else, this, like with how the Cowboys pass the ball on first down, and especially how they run the ball out of the gun, you're going to see a ton of insane stuff on first down from Flores, because the Cowboys aren't going to be like, we're going to get into 12 personnel and make you put up front on the field and like run you out of it. No, they run from 11, they run from the gun. So you can be very, very, very designery in terms of getting the back stuck in protection, in terms of getting penetration against these runs. And then you can get them to the 3rd and long and then force somebody other than George to beat you. And so there's a nice path here for the Vikings defense. It's been playing much better as of late. On the other side of the ball, it's awful. And I don't care they scored 31 points. It's still really, really, really bad. But defensively, I like it.
Commanders, I said this last week. I think actually, my exact words were, JJ McCarthy, it will never be easier for you this week against.
JJ had a quote after the game where he was like, everything came together. Like, I just really frustrated this never happened sooner. And it's like, yeah, you didn't play Washington. Like, that's why it didn't happen sooner. You had to play other defenses.
I will say this about Minnesota. They've quietly become a little bit better at running the football, too.
That was the offseason plan. It just took a while to actually get kind of playing off the ground.
So I think they can challenge Dallas in that way. But yeah, the Dallas defense is much better than Washington. So I'm taking Dallas here for that reason.
Dallas should win. The McCarthy performance is still nothing. Like, to me, he's still like just like an auto fade. A lot of space in the secondary though. So this is a good day to make me eat my words. This is the day to pepper Justin Jefferson. There are no good corners here. You should be able to do it.
There'll be opportunities.
I'm not holding a candle for it.
Okay, finally, it's me. Dolphins Steelers. Aaron Rodgers coming off of his best performance of the season. I am going to focus on the other side of the ball. For those who have not been watching the Miami Dolphins, they have the most, what's the adjective I'm looking for? It's a sicko.
It was exactly what I was thinking of. It's disgusting.
Their run game is insane. Some of the things that they are doing week to week, I actually struggle the verbiage to the words to describe some of them.
It's an offense to football. It's cheese. It's flag football plays, but it's also like sick and honorable. It's very, very cool. It would piss me off if they were like 12-3 and doing it, but the fact they're like 6-7 means it's fine.
It's crazy because Mike McDaniel a few years ago, when the fast motion and people were like, whoa, what they're doing in the pass game is like never been done. And then they solved it and everything fell apart and the whole team collapsed. And now he's like kind of doing it again in the front game, but no one cares because it's too late. Although might save his job. Anyways, I bring that up to say that it's going to cause specific problems for the Steelers defense. First of all, this is a cold weather game, so we know they want to run the football. And product the by the way, the product so I sorry, I should say what they're doing. We should try to describe it.
Yeah.
Um they're putting multiple big bodies on the field, sometimes in the backfield, often in motion. It's a lot of 21, 22 with Ingold, but also I forget the tight ends names that they use, but
They
who's
have Greg Dulcich, they have Darren Waller, they have Julian Hill, and Hill's
that's
the
what I was
impactful
thinking. No,
blocker.
Hill's the one I'm looking
And
for.
then they
Yeah.
go jumbo with Daniel Brunskill, and they'll motion him to fullback, which is disgusting.
Like weird escort motions from unexpected players um and there's always a ton of backfield action, and they're creating massive holes, and then Devon Achane is just like, rocket fuel running back. The result is they have the highest percentage of explosive runs in the league right now. Achane leads all backs in rushing yards over expected per carry. They use motion at the highest rate of
Yeah.
the Steelers struggle with all of this, man. Like I'd be worried if I'm Pittsburgh,
Very
given
worried.
what this Dolphins offense is putting on tape.
Yeah. There's a little bit of like the Dolphins running game makes your linebackers wrong, and the Steelers' response is, "Hey, our linebackers have been wrong all season. All right, we've been here anyway. All right, we're immune to this. We cannot be fooled. We've just been fooled from week one." But the level of like the Steelers struggle dramatically in the second level with misdirection, and the Dolphins' entire running game is based off the idea of, listen, we're gonna screw your second level over. They're chalked. It's done. Your first level might get penetration, might be a 1 yard gain, but if we can get past the first level, we're already in the third level.
I love watching them from the next day from the end zone view perspective of the defense and trying to figure it out.
Yeah. There's a reverse they run. There's a reverse they run on the first drive to Jalen Waddle, where Tua walks out. He's in the pistol. He's a back behind him, and then he has a fullback to his right.
I know exactly.
And then he has a second fullback also to his right more. Like there's two more over, and the fullbacks like do like a whirligig switch at the snap to like just draw eyes while the reverse is coming behind it. And there's a young backer, 53 for the Jets. I don't know how to say his name, Francis Magoa. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The poor guy is just like, he knows he's screwed. He's just there patting his feet, just like praying somebody tells him where the ball's going. It's difficult, man.
I literally write down, I don't know how to describe this. Like, I don't have the words to. Also, man, if I'm half the teams in the NFL, more than half, I'm very bummed at the prospect of Mike McDaniel keeping his job, because
he would have been a fast hire.
Love to bring that man in to fix my run game. Okay, so yeah, they're up against Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh offensively, I think, could have success moving the ball in Miami. I don't know if we're going to see that same Aaron Rodgers we saw last week every week, where he's actually making plays under pressure and doing some stuff outside of structure. But this is in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's favored by 3.5. Mm-hmm. It's pretty close. Part of me wants to pick Miami here. Is that crazy?
No, I lean Miami. I think Miami wins this game. I think that the absolute, without question, strongest unit in this group is the Dolphins running game, for sure.
Okay.
And the Steelers, something that I expect them to struggle with. The strength of their run defense is that defensive tackle with Cam Hayward and Derek Harmon. The Dolphins could choose not to make that matter by just living on the boundary, right? They run off tackle second only to the Falcons among all offenses in the league. Now, it's Tua in a cold weather game. He won his first game under 45 degrees last week against the Jets. Congrats to Tua. It's also Aaron Rodgers at 42 in a cold weather game. I know that Rodgers, like Green Bay, loves cold weather, but both these quarterbacks hate getting hit, and their play falls off dramatically when they're getting a lot of pressure. That gets exacerbated in cold weather when hits hurt more and the ground really hurts more. And so this would be the sort of game where after quarter one, I can tell you how it's going to go, because it depends on who's getting knocked down, whose pass rush is getting home. The quarterback that gets to stay comfortable, this one's going to be fine. And so a lot of it's going to be who accumulates hits in the first half that pay dividends in the second.
I think, like, when I visualize, I'm either seeing Aaron Rodgers on the ground looking super mad, or I'm seeing Tua throwing a back-breaking interception if the Steelers can get them into third round. One of those things is going to happen. Maybe both.
Probably both. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm too far away from Mike. Yeah, I just don't believe in this Steelers run defense, so I'm gonna stick with that, even though
Dolphins mathematically not eliminated from the playoffs. Fun fact, was checking this week.
The Dolphins run game is probably like a top 5, thing for me to watch every week.
We should acknowledge Devon Achane did leave that game. He was apparently the line.
That would
Well, the line was that he could have come back in an emergency. They were being really cautious with him,
Okay.
and obviously Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon were also still just like going off. Excuse me.
Positive
So
update. Okay.
yeah,
Good.
Asian is expected to play in this game, so we should be okay in that one. But yeah,
Good.
so long as they have the backs
Not
available, and
nice.
then they get Waddle the ball off quick hitters, off of like RPOs and stuff. They get him in space against these corners. Not a fast group there in Pittsburgh. I think he gets a couple big plays that puts the Dolphins out of reach of the Steelers.
I should post some of these runs we've been talking about because they're so
Yeah.
nuts.
I've posted the Jalen Waddle reverse because it's just a filthy play.
There's just so many people moving. Okay. That's it for this week. We'll be back next week with Dominique to recap that game. And in a couple weeks, Ben and I will be doing the week of Christmas, week 17.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ben, is there anything that folks should check out?
Read my column. Go to my Twitter account, watch the Dolphins reverse. That's the most important thing to me right now.
It's special. It's special stuff. Thank you to Ben, of course. Thank you, as always, to Omaha Productions, Kirsten Sebecki, Owen Saylor, Jack Foster, Tucker Tashton. You can watch the show on YouTube, youtube.com/IMinaKimes, where you can also watch my other podcast, Viewer Discretion with David Dennis Jr., where we'll be discussing Pluribus, that we're on that show, which I'm loving. Then the week after that, we're doing Fallout 2 as well, in addition to Pluribus, which is another show I really like. You can check out the show Instagram at instagram.com/IMinaKimes, where I put out my weekly power rankings. I felt pretty good about last week's rankings, by the way. Last week, this was ahead of the weekend. I went Rams, Seahawks, Patriots, Broncos, Packers, in that order.
We're about to find out 4 or 5 as they're playing each other. That's nice. It's helpful.
Yeah, that'll be instructive. Well, I got to do the rankings before they play, unfortunately. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. See you next week.